Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our IELTS Grammar Masterclass lessons. It's great to have you with us today. And we are going to tackle two quite interesting parts of the English language. Maybe you've heard of these aspects of grammar before, but we'll go into more detail today. Lots of examples of how you can use both demonstratives and possessives throughout your IELTS exam and in general as well, of course. So if this sounds like something that you are interested in, then stay around today because we're going to really look in depth into these two areas. Okay, let's begin today by looking at demonstratives. What are they? How do we use them? And how can we go into our IELTS exam feeling confident with this part of grammar? Okay, what are they first? Well, they are words that are used to indicate or point to specific items in a sentence. So this helps with clarity, for it becomes very clear what the speaker is or the writer is talking about. And it can also show the location between the relationship between the objects or the people that are being referred to. So there's various different uses for demonstratives, but they really help almost streamline what you're trying to say so that everyone is clear. It becomes more concise. And the main ones, which I'm sure you've seen before, maybe you weren't aware that they're called demonstratives, but that's the name for them. I know it's a long name, but it refers to words like this, that, these, and those. So we'll talk about these 4 different main demonstratives here. And we call them pronouns because they replace nouns, which we'll look at. Okay, let's begin with this. So what do we use this for? This is to refer to a singular object or person that is close to the speaker. So we don't mean in terms of a close relationship, we mean physically, literally close to the speaker. So if something is within, I'd say, a couple of meters of you, if you are the speaker, then this is appropriate. You can say, I really like this book. And the context here, perhaps you're holding the book, perhaps you are pointing to the book. So it's got to be in within a physically close distance of you, if that makes sense here. And how many books are there? Going back to the numbers, there's just one, this book, one book, in other words. So how is that different from this? Well, that is referring to a singular object, so similar to this, but the difference is it's further away from the speaker. So we're talking about something that's physically quite far away. I can't believe that movie won an award. So, for example, you might be looking at a billboard about the movie that's quite far away. You might be looking at the TV. These now. Right, so how is this different? Well, this becomes plural, so we're now referring to multiple objects or people that are close to the speaker. So just like this, the physical distance is close, but now we're thinking about multiple objects. For example, these shoes are comfortable. And how many shoes? Well, there are 2. There's a pair of shoes. These shoes. Those, on the other hand, are again further away from the speaker. For example, look at those beautiful flowers. So now there's some distance there. Perhaps you're looking over the road or in somebody's garden or at a nice park as well. Okay, so those are the four main ones. And let's go back now to look at demonstratives in general, because they can also function in a sentence as what's called determiners. In other words, modifying a noun in a sentence. So before they were pronouns, but now they could be determiners, which are actually enhancing or modifying a noun instead of replacing a noun. So determiners, or a determiner, is a word or group of words that introduces and modifies a noun, providing more information about, say, possession or quantity. So they're a subgroup, demonstratives are a subgroup of general determiners. So determiners are the umbrella term and demonstratives come under. So that's just useful to know for our general understanding here. Okay, so back to demonstratives then, our subgroup of determiners. We can think about proximity and specificity. So this, that, these, those, which we've just been looking at, can help convey or can help explain the proximity, which means how close things are together, and the specificity, which means the accuracy, if you like, of the noun they modify. For example, I visited this museum last summer. So this, you might be next to the museum, you might be looking at the museum on your phone, perhaps. And so you're being really specific as to which museum you visited, the speaker here. So the specific museum that is close to the speaker in this situation. Okay, so you might want to use a demonstrative to introduce or identify a noun for the first time. She showed me that book about ancient history. So you're introducing a specific book in this situation. You might be drawing some emphasis or highlighting a particular noun in a sentence. This is good for that. So you could say, I'm interested in these research findings. So perhaps not other research findings, these specific ones. And you want to make that clear. Okay, so putting emphasis on nouns. And also, as we've talked about, you can refer back to previously mentioned nouns. So you could say, I love visiting museums. This one, in particular, has an impressive arts collection. So you're referring back to the previously mentioned museum here, or the fact that you love visiting museums in general. And maybe you've mentioned one in particular that you're now referring to. Okay, another way we can think about demonstratives, they can determine the quantity or the number of the noun. So they indicate whether they are singular or plural. I bought these shoes yesterday. If you wanted to make it singular, I'm not sure you would with shoes, but you could say, I bought this shoe yesterday. So now the speaker, without having to specifically or explicitly say, it's understood that it's just one shoe. But here it's understood that it's more than one, two, more than likely. So a pair of shoes here. And so you really are streamlining the speech here. You don't have to go into lots of detail because demonstratives are able to convey this information. All right, so that was a deep dive on demonstratives. They are used very often, and I think it's a nice way that you can pepper into your speech and your writing so that you don't have to repeat nouns as often, so they're useful pronouns. And it's a nice way to add layers to your speech and writing, refer back to things. It makes for a nice conversation. Okay, so let's now ease into possessives. How are they different from demonstratives? And what do they do in a sentence? Well, They are words that, you might have guessed, indicate ownership or possession of something. So they could be pronouns, they can be adjectives, or they can be nouns as well. And we'll look at each one of these. Okay, possessive pronouns then. So common possessive pronouns are words like mine, yours, his, hers, its, ours, and theirs. But they do not modify other nouns, so they stand alone. And that's important to remember here. And in these examples, possessive pronouns are used to replace and refer back to previously mentioned nouns. So just like how demonstratives can have that function as well, this, that, those, so can possessive pronouns. And we'll see that in action, so they share that quality here. Okay, so person one, we can imagine this might be the arts examiner, could say, "Can you tell me about your favourite book?" Okay, and then person two could say, "Of course, I recently read a fascinating novel by a fantastic author. His decision to write a mystery book was an interesting one." So I've highlighted the possessive pronoun in green, his. And what is his? Well, his decision, underlined. And who are we talking about? Who are we referring to? The author in red there. So you can see how this adds variation. You don't have to keep saying the author, the author. You can refer back with possessive pronouns. Another one, discuss a significant achievement in your life. Certainly, graduating from university is one of my biggest achievements. It was a proud moment for all of us. So possessive pronoun it, referring back to the graduating from university. And what was it? Well, it was a proud moment. Absolutely. I value my friendships a lot. Each one of my friends has unique qualities, and I appreciate their differences. So again, you can see that we have our possessive pronoun there in green, referring back to my friends. And what are we talking about? Well, their differences. Okay, so let's move into possessive adjectives. So a possessive adjective is when it modifies a noun by indicating ownership. And common possessive adjectives are my, your, his, her, its, our, and their. And they modify a noun, which means they are dependent. Okay, let's look at an example. Can you tell me about your family? Sure, my sister is a doctor. That's an example, and I've highlighted the green possessive adjective my there. Okay, so what is special about this my? Well, it's acting as a possessive adjective because it's followed by sister. So therefore, my is modifying sister, indicating the relationship. So now, as the reader or the listener, we understand that the speaker is related to the sister. Okay, another one. Do you enjoy your job? Yes, I love my job as I am encouraged to be creative and take responsibility. So again, a similar situation. We've highlighted my and it's connected with job. So specifying that the job being referred to belongs to the speaker and it provides a more detailed account of the noun job. So job on its own, okay, quite vague, not sure. But now we know, okay, there's more clarity here. All right, and the final category, possessive nouns. So these indicate ownership or possession. And these are quite easy to spot actually because you have a possessor plus an apostrophe plus an S. For example, John's car. So you can spot the apostrophe S. It's a bit easier with this one. For example, describe your dream house. I would love to have a garden. My dream garden would be filled with flowers and would have space for my dog's ball game. So the ball game belongs to the dog here. That's the dog's favourite game here. And that is shown with the apostrophe and S. Okay, another one. Do you have a favourite childhood toy? Yes, I still have my childhood teddy bear. Teddy's name is Mr. Fluffy. So the name we're talking about is belonging to Teddy here. So we know that that's the relationship. And another one. Tell me about your best friend. I've known my best friend Paul since high school. Paul's favourite activity is when we go for hikes together. So the favourite activity belongs to Paul. That's the connection there. And the apostrophe S shows us that. All right, so those were some possessives there to think about. So we're going to move into an IELTS section now, an IELTS focus, and hopefully this can help you prepare for the exam a little bit. So when describing charts and graphs in the Task 1 academic, you can use demonstratives. You could say, in the first quarter, there was a noticeable increase in sales. This surge is attributed to, and then you're referring back to the increase in sales. Very nicely, you're saying this, and then you're also rephrasing it again. So instead of saying this increase in sales, you said this surge. So lots of variation here, great words to use. Another one, by the end of the period, the data indicates a decline. These fluctuations suggest. And again, we have the same great sentence here, so you can refer back to them in a slightly different way using a demonstrative. I think this makes for a really nice piece of writing. Possessives now, the same thing, task 1, academic. So you can say something like, China experienced a rapid growth in its renewable energy sector. Its being the possessive, belonging to China. The tennis group showed a steady decline in their performance over the course of the decade. They're referring to the tennis group. Okay, let's have a think about letter writing and demonstratives. You could say something like, I recently visited this city and was impressed by its cultural richness. Or another one, enclosed, please find these documents for your review. This, singular, close to the speaker. These, plural, also close to the speaker. Possessives and letter writing. I would like to bring to your attention the issue of our community parks maintenance. There we go. So you've got our community. I appreciate your prompt response to my inquiry. Possessives here. So we know who the response belongs to and who the inquiry belongs to. Okay, task 2. For demonstratives, you could say something like, in today's society, the role of technology is undeniable. This influence extends to various aspects of our lives. This referring to the role of technology. Global warming is a pressing issue. These environmental challenges require immediate attention. So this and these. Okay, and possessives now. You could say something like, individuals should take responsibility for their carbon footprint, referring to the plural individuals. Governments must consider their citizens' well-being when implementing new policies. well-being, belonging to the citizens here. And this is a good point actually. So when a word ends with S anyway, like citizens, and you want to show possession, the apostrophe goes after the S. So you don't normally add another S, you'll just put the apostrophe at the end there. All right, so that was how you can relate it to the IELTS exam. Now let's have one final practice just to see how much knowledge we've retained and how comfortable we are with these two areas of grammar. So fill in the blanks. I really enjoyed the museum in Paris. The exhibits were fascinating, especially collection of ancient artifacts. Okay, what should we put here? Maybe a possessive, maybe a demonstrative. Have a think. What would work best? For this one, I think that would work best, especially that collection. Okay, another one. Laptop is very efficient and I use it for work every day. We've got a clue here with the I. Maybe it's a possessive here, another clue. This one would be my laptop, showing possession. Okay, another one. In the IELTS speaking test, candidates often talk about personal experiences to provide examples and support their answers. Have a think. Would it be a possessive pronoun maybe? I think there would work nicely in this one. Their personal experiences referring back to the candidates. In hometown, there is a traditional market that locals often visit to buy fresh produce. Okay, maybe this is a possessive, this one. What would work best? Have a think. I think my again would work best here. In my hometown, there is a traditional market. Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's lesson. I hope that's been useful for you. Two very important but often understudied areas of English grammar, perhaps overlooked as well. So I think that's really great to touch on it today. Hopefully that's good IELTS practice for you, and we'll see you in the next lesson.